Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something I think pretty much everyone can relate to on some level. It's that sheer volume of things we all seem to gather over a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
You know that feeling, right? Decades of memories, maybe some family heirlooms, gifts people gave you, little trinkets, and let's be honest, just plain stuff.
So much stuff.
It fills our homes, our closets, our garages, attics. Sometimes it feels like it's filling our whole lives.
It really can feel that way.
But here's where it gets, I think, really pivotal. What happens when all that accumulation, that mountain of memories, actually turns into this huge, overwhelming challenge, especially as we get older or maybe face a big life transition?
It's a profound shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
That collection of possessions, the things that once felt comforting, maybe each holding a piece of the past, suddenly it can become a source of, well, real stress.
Yeah.
And it's particularly true when people start thinking about big changes like maybe downsizing from the family home they've lived in for years. And the challenge isn't just, the physical job of moving items. It's really deeply rooted in our emotional connections to all these objects.
That's exactly what we're here to unpack today. We're taking a real deep dive into the practical side, but also that often really profoundly emotional journey of decluttering, specifically for seniors. We've pulled together some, frankly, invaluable insights from the sources you shared with us, and our mission here is to kind of distill those key nuggets of knowledge for you.
Yeah, make you usable.
Exactly. These aren't just, tips for tidying up a junk drawer. We're talking about powerful strategies that can actually transform not only your physical space, but maybe even your mental and emotional landscape too.
That's the goal.
Think of this as your shortcut to getting really well informed, maybe picking up some surprising facts, and hopefully having just enough humor along the way to keep you listening.
And our aim is definitely to provide methods that aren't just effective in general, but are, specifically tailored to the unique needs of older adults.
That's key.
Yeah. So that means acknowledging the realities, like maybe having limited physical energy or limited emotional stamina too, and critically addressing those really powerful, often complex emotional attachments people form with their things over, well, a lifetime.
Okay, so to really bring this into focus, let's introduce you to someone we're calling Margaret. Now, she's kind of a composite, right? Based on many stories we've heard.
Right, a relatable figure.
Exactly. So Margaret is 68, and she found herself literally surrounded by what she called, kind of affectionately, but also a bit despairingly, 40 years of things that once brought her happiness.
Wow, 40 years.
Yeah, she was living in a 1,250 square foot house, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Pretty standard family home.
Okay.
But Margaret was looking at a really significant life-altering move, downsizing to a much smaller, 896 square foot manufactured home.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Huge. Going from 4 beds, 3 baths down to just 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. Can you even imagine the scale of that transition?
That is a truly drastic reduction in living space. I mean, that kind of downsizing plus decades of accumulated stuff.
Yeah. Well, it can easily lead to just intense feelings of overwhelm.
Yeah.
Even, like you said, a sense of suffocation. And the sources we looked at really highlight how this challenge gets even tougher when, say, adult children live far away, or maybe they're just not able to help out much.
Right.
And of course, when a senior's own physical energy and maybe emotional energy too naturally starts to decline a bit.
Absolutely. The sheer size of the task, the magnitude, it can feel paralyzing. But here's the promise, the powerful promise of this deep dive today. This isn't just about tidying up a few messy drawers or, finally tossing some old junk mail. We're going to uncover what we're actually calling brutal hacks.
Okay, brutal. I like it.
Yeah. Strategies that are really decisive, remarkably effective, and specifically designed to help declutter a home fast, like really fast.
So not gentle suggestions then? Not exactly. We're talking real impact, maybe even potentially within a time frame as short as, say, 48 hours, leading to profound life-altering changes. This isn't just about clearing out space in your house. It's about clearing space for new possibilities, for renewed well-being, and really for embracing whatever your next chapter is.
Okay.
So we're going to share these unique, practical strategies specifically for seniors, directly addressing that limited stamina issue and those really deep emotional attachments we talked about.
And the underlying idea, I think, behind these approaches is really to cut through that inertia, that feeling of being stuck that so often comes with these huge tasks.
Exactly.
They provide actionable, straightforward steps that genuinely respect the realities of aging, making sustainable progress not just, possible, but actually achievable.
Okay, great. So let's jump right into part one. The emotional and physical weight of a lifetime of possessions. Because for so many of us, our homes aren't just places we live, right? They often become something, well, something much more meaningful, like a museum of memories.
That's a really spot-on analogy, actually. Our sources consistently highlight just how incredibly difficult it can be to let go of possessions. And it's precisely because they are rarely just objects.
Right.
Instead, they're like deeply interwoven with our identity. They serve as these tangible links to past experiences, cherished moments, beloved people even.
Yeah.
Each item can, evoke a really vivid story or recall a specific person or just transport you back to a precise moment in time. And that creates this really formidable emotional barrier to actually decluttering.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not simply about what the item is, but really profoundly about what it represents to us.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there's that other thing, that really insidious just-in-case trap. Oh, man, I am so incredibly guilty of this one.
I think most of us are.
Right. You hold on to something, maybe it's a dusty old gadget or a sweater you haven't worn in like 10 years, thinking, oh, but I might need it someday.
Mm-hmm. The someday pile.
Exactly. It's this powerful psychological hurdle that just leads to endless procrastination and this relentless accumulation of items, all based on some imagined future need that, let's be honest, more often than not, never actually happens.
Right.
It's kind of a comfortable lie we tell ourselves, isn't it?
It really is. And this often, frankly, irrational fear of future need, no matter how improbable it might seem, it acts as a surprisingly potent deterrent to actually discarding things.
Yeah.
It creates this significant mental burden, too, adding this kind of invisible weight that presses down on top of the physical clutter, making the whole idea of decluttering feel even more oppressive.
Now, when we think specifically about seniors, these challenges aren't just present. They often feel profoundly amplified. There's the very real sort of biological factor of having, well, limited physical and emotional energy.
Definitely.
Decluttering, especially on the huge scale Margaret is facing, it's not just demanding, it's physically exhausting, and it can be incredibly emotionally draining.
Mm-hmm.
The sources we looked at clearly state that seniors have limited emotional energy to tackle these kinds of daunting tasks, and this often leads to severe burnout, which, sadly, just stops attempts dead in their tracks before any real progress can be made.
Yeah, you hit a wall.
Exactly. Imagine starting a marathon and just hitting a wall a mile in. That's how it can feel.
And that point about limited energy is it's absolutely paramount. It connects directly to those broader discussions about functional disability among older adults, or even seemingly simple difficulties with mobility or self-care, or even just cognitive processing can profoundly impact their ability to manage daily tasks.
Right.
So when you add a huge, large-scale decluttering project on top of that baseline, the physical and mental resources required are simply not as abundant as they maybe once were.
No.
And this makes consistent, sustainable progress incredibly challenging without strategies that are, highly targeted and energy efficient.
And these huge decluttering tasks, they so often coincide with major life transitions, don't they?
They really do.
Whether it's downsizing for retirement like Margaret is doing, or maybe moving closer to family, or even that difficult but sometimes necessary consideration of future living options, like maybe assisted living or a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
These transitions just dramatically amplify the urgent need to declutter.
Yeah.
It stops being just something you'd like to do and becomes this difficult, undeniable priority.
And as you touched on earlier, the challenge gets significantly compounded when adult children are geographically distant or, for whatever reason, genuinely unable to provide that hands-on assistance.
Yeah.
That crucial emotional support and the logistical help, too, that might otherwise be readily available, it just isn't there.
Yeah.
And that can leave the individual feeling even more isolated and alone facing this monumental undertaking.
Which brings us right back to the sheer overwhelm of just the volume. When you've accumulated 40 years of things, the sheer quantity alone can feel utterly insurmountable.
Mm-hmm. Just looking at it.
Right. It's not just about the weight or the meaning of each individual item, but the collective weight of all the items piled up, stored away.
Yeah.
Creating that suffocating feeling Margaret described.
Yeah.
It's like this visceral, physical representation of feeling bogged down, stuck, just unable to move forward.
And the psychological impact of simply seeing the enormity of the task ahead.
Yeah.
Well, it can be so powerful that it prevents someone from even starting.
Yeah, procrastination kicks in hard.
Exactly. Or if they do manage to begin, it can cause them to give up really quickly. And this truly necessitates a fundamentally different approach than, the standard one-size-fits-all decluttering advice you might find online or in magazines.
And that is precisely why we need to move on to part 2. Unpacking these decisive strategies for swift decluttering. We're going beyond the gentle suggestions here. We're talking about these brutal hacks.
Yep.
Like I said, these aren't your soft, maybe touchy-feely, Marie Kondo-esque methods. These are direct, very practical strategies designed to cut through those emotional and logistical barriers with speed and efficiency, especially with seniors in mind.
Right?
The focus, as hinted in some of the source material, is really on effectiveness and speed. Getting things done with real impact, maybe even, like we said, within a tight time frame like 48 hours.
So these hacks are designed to really facilitate clear, immediate decisions, recognizing that, spending too much time deliberating can quickly drain that limited energy and just bring progress to a grinding halt.
Exactly. Paralysis by analysis.
Right. They provide a pretty robust framework for swift, decisive action, moving past that paralysis of indecision.
Okay, let's dive into our very first brutal hack. The cost of clutter check. This one is all about leveraging pure practicality. The core principle here directly challenges that just-in-case mentality we were just talking about. It asks a really simple but profoundly effective question. Could this item be replaced for under $15?
Okay, $15. That's specific.
Yeah. And the logic behind it is compellingly pragmatic, right? If something is inexpensive and you could easily replace it if you really needed it, well, its current clutter cost, which includes the valuable space it takes up, the mental energy of keeping track of it, the subtle energy it demands just by being there that costs most likely far outweighs any potential, probably imagined future utility.
That makes sense. It shifts the mindset, doesn't it? From that scarcity-driven, oh, what if I need it someday, to a more practicality-driven, okay, what's the actual cost of keeping this thing right now?
Exactly. So really think about it. What's one item you're keeping just in case that fits this description? We're talking specific, tangible examples here. Things like extra tools, old linens, or maybe some forgotten kitchen gadgets.
Right, those drawers full of gadgets.
Totally. So Margaret, for instance, she had like 3 sets of rarely used specialized gardening tools sitting in her shed. They were all under $15 to replace if she ever needed them again. She realized she barely gardened anymore anyway, so she kept the newest, most essential set, the things she actually used, and she donated the others. And she said she felt this immediate lightness.
I bet.
Or think about those random kitchen gadgets you bought years ago, used maybe once, and now they just sit there taking up precious drawer space. If you truly needed a new melon waller, or, I don't know, a specialty avocado slicer, how much would it really cost?
Probably less than $15, maybe even less than 10.
Probably.
So this approach immediately frees up both that mental space and the physical room. It really empowers a decisive, maybe toss philosophy for items that, despite having very little monetary value, contribute significantly to the overall clutter. It's a remarkably pragmatic way to detach from things that aren't truly essential or uniquely irreplaceable.
Exactly. And the emotional shift you experience, it's palpable. It's like, oh, okay, I don't need to cling to this old rusty wrench just in case. If I really need a wrench down the line, I can easily get a brand new, probably better one for just a few bucks. It allows you to feel significantly lighter and more confident in your decisions because you're approaching it from a place of, well, cold, hard logic rather than that paralyzing fear of future lack.
It brilliantly simplifies the decision-making process, which, as we've noted, is absolutely invaluable when emotional energy is such a precious and limited commodity.
Yeah.
It minimizes the energy you spend on these low-value items.
Okay, great first hack. Let's move to our second brutal hack, the energy priority scale. This one directly addresses that crucial reality we discussed earlier, that seniors have limited emotional energy for this monumental task of decluttering.
This is a big one.
Yeah, it's not about forcing yourself to just power through until you drop from exhaustion. It's about being incredibly strategic and smart with your finite resources, your energy.
Right. The core principle here is really to strategically prioritize tasks to prevent that burnout and, crucially, to maintain consistent momentum.
Yeah, momentum is key.
It really is. So instead of attempting to do way too much at once, which inevitably leads to giving up, the goal is to make sustainable progress, even if it feels incrementally slow sometimes. It's about profoundly respecting your own natural limits and pacing the process effectively.
So what does this actually look like in practice?
Well, it suggests maybe focusing on high-impact areas first. Places where clearing even just a little bit makes a big visual and mental difference.
Okay, like the entryway maybe?
Could be. Or perhaps more importantly, breaking down tasks into very small, like ultra manageable chunks that truly respect your energy levels on any given day.
Right. Tiny steps.
Tiny steps. So instead of declaring, okay, today I'm going to tackle the entire garage, you might decide, this morning I'm just going to declutter one small shelf in the garage. And maybe this afternoon I'll clear out a single drawer in the kitchen. Margaret, she started with her bathroom cabinet. It was a small, contained space she knew she could probably finish in maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah. And she found lotions that were probably 20 years old, expired medicines, makeup that was practically ancient. Just clearing that one small space gave her this immediate, powerful burst of momentum and a real sense of accomplishment.
And the huge benefit there is that it realistically manages expectations, right?
Yeah.
You're not aiming for absolute perfection in one giant heroic effort.
No.
You're aiming for consistent, achievable progress, maybe day after day or even just hour by hour, depending on how you feel. And this method effectively prevents those overwhelming feelings that can lead to stopping dead in their tracks, ensuring continuous, albeit perhaps slower, forward movement.
It builds this chain of success, doesn't it? And no matter how small each individual link might seem, each completed chunk, each cleared space, it kind of fuels the next effort. It leads to a sustained positive impact over time. It's all about accumulating those small wins.
Precisely. It's about building a sequence of easily attainable small successes rather than risking one large, daunting failure that could just derail the entire effort.
Okay, now for our third powerful strategy, the brutal sort method. This hack is all about immediate, decisive action. Forget the maybe pile, because maybe, let's face it, often just becomes never.
The maybe pile is clutter purgatory, isn't it?
Totally. So the core principle here is to create only 3 very clearly defined piles or boxes. Keep, toss, and donate cell. That's it. There is absolutely no maybe pile allowed.
No fence sitting.
None. The moment you touch an item, you make an immediate, firm decision. If you find yourself hesitating for more than, say, a few seconds, that's a pretty strong signal that it probably belongs in the toss or donate pile.
Okay, quick decisions.
Quick decisions. Margaret used this in her ridiculously overstuffed linen closet. She pulled everything out and found, like, 12 old mismatched tablecloths, some she hadn't seen in decades.
Wow.
Instead of creating a maybe someday I'll use these pile, she immediately sorted. Kept her 2 absolute favorites, tossed the ones that were ripped or stained beyond repair, and put the rest straight into a bag for a local charity. She said the speed and the decisiveness felt incredibly liberating.
I can imagine.
This method forces you to confront the item and make a call right then and there, freeing up that mental bandwidth immediately.
And the benefit is astonishing speed. By eliminating that maybe pile, you prevent the analysis paralysis we talked about. You move through items much more quickly, creating visible progress almost instantly, which in turn boosts morale and encourages you to keep going. This direct approach really respects limited energy by avoiding that prolonged, draining deliberation.
Okay, next up, our 4th brutal hack. And this one is really tailor-made for managing that limited stamina, the 8-minute blitz.
8 minutes. Okay, tell me more.
The core principle of the 8-minute blitz is simple.
Yeah.
You set a timer for exactly 8 minutes, and you work as intensely and as focused as you possibly can on one specific small area. And then, when the timer goes off, you stop.
Just stop, even if you're not done.
Just stop. The magic number, 8 minutes, it isn't totally arbitrary. It's short enough that it feels manageable, even on days when you have really low energy, but it's just long enough to actually make a noticeable dent. This hack directly combats that overwhelm of volume feeling and the risk of burnout.
Right, because it's finite.
Exactly. So Margaret applied this to her kitchen counters. They were just perpetually covered in stuff.
The landing zone.
The landing zone. So she'd set her timer, grab a garbage bag, and just furiously tackle one section of the counter for exactly 8 minutes. Mail, newspapers, random bits. When the timer went off, she'd start, no matter what.
Okay.
Sometimes she cleared a whole section in that time, sometimes just a small corner, but she always saw progress. And it broke that mental barrier of feeling like she had to do it all at once.
Yeah.
She found old grocery lists, pens that didn't work, even a stack of mail from, like, last year tucked away. Just 8 minutes, and then she was done for that session. Could move on to something else.
The psychological benefit there sounds huge. By limiting the time, you remove the pressure to complete an entire space or an entire room. It makes just starting much easier. And those consistent small victories build confidence. You could do several 8-minute blitzes throughout the day if you feel up to it, or maybe just one, but you know you've still accomplished something meaningful without completely exhausting yourself.
Brilliant. Okay, moving to our fifth strategy. This one is especially powerful for those tricky sentimental items, the outsider test. This hack is designed to give you a more objective lens.
Okay, an outsider's perspective. How does that work?
The core principle of the outsider test is pretty simple but effective. When you're looking at an item, especially when you're really on the fence about keeping, you ask yourself this: if a complete stranger walked into my home right now, would they understand why I'm keeping this?
Oh,
Or you could put it another way: would a professional organizer, someone who doesn't know my personal history with this thing, recommend that this item stay? It kind of forces you to remove your personal emotional bias from the decision just for a moment.
that's clever. Detaching the emotion.
Yeah. So Margaret had this collection of 19 teacups. Each one was lovely, maybe a gift or from a special trip or inherited. She loved them, but she honestly rarely used them, and they took up an entire cabinet in her kitchen.
19 teacups is a lot of teacups.
It is. So applying the outsider test, she sort of stepped back and realized that to a stranger, yeah, it probably looked like a pretty excessive collection.
Mm-hmm.
She asked herself, do I really need 19 teacups for my life right now in this smaller home I'm moving to? She decided to keep her absolute favorite one, the one that truly brought her joy now, the one she actually used, and she carefully packed up the other 18 for donation.
Wow, that's decisive.
Yeah. And she said it felt less like a loss and more like a logical, necessary decision for her future, rather than just holding on to a past she wasn't really living anymore.
So the benefit is gaining that critical distance.
Hmm.
It helps you recognize when an item's perceived value is based purely on sentimentality that maybe no longer serves your present life or your future needs.
Right.
It helps separate genuine usefulness or current joy from maybe a sense of obligation or just an attachment to a past that's already been lived. It provides real clarity.
Okay, our sixth brutal hack. This one specifically targets those really deeply sentimental items, which, let's face it, are often the hardest to let go of. It's the gratitude, goodbye, and photo first rule.
Okay, gratitude, goodbye, and photo first. Intriguing.
The core principle here really acknowledges the emotional weight of memories. Instead of just, tossing something meaningful into a bag or a box, this hack suggests taking a moment to actually engage with the item.
Honoring it.
Exactly. Hold it. Acknowledge the memory or the person it represents. Maybe consciously express gratitude for the role it played in your life. And then here's the key part, if you choose to: take a photograph of it.
The photo first part.
Right. Once you've captured the memory digitally, you can then lovingly let the physical item go. The photo preserves that visual reminder, that connection, but without the physical clutter taking up space.
That's a really thoughtful approach.
Margaret used this hack extensively with her late husband's old camping gear. He apparently loved camping, and she had kept every single piece: dusty tents, old sleeping bags, cooking stuff, even though she hadn't been camping herself in years.
Hard to let go of those things.
So hard. Each item was like a little piece of their museum of memories, reminding her of adventures they had together. But just looking at it all piled up made her feel physically exhausted.
I bet.
So applying this hack, she took photos of the main pieces of gear, took a moment to remember specific trips, maybe smiled a little, and then she packed it all up for donation to a local youth outdoor program.
Oh, that's lovely. Giving it a new life.
Yeah. And she realized the memories weren't actually in the canvas or the tent poles, they were in her heart. And now they were also preserved safely in the photos on her tablet. This approach made letting go feel more like an act of honoring him and honoring their past rather than a painful separation.
That sounds like it offers profound emotional release. It allows individuals to really process their feelings of attachment in a healthy way, maybe providing a sense of closure.
Yeah.
And the digital photograph serves as a kind of proxy, doesn't it? Ensuring the memory itself isn't lost, while simultaneously freeing up valuable physical space and, importantly, mental energy. It transforms a potential burden into a cherished digital archive.
Beautifully put. Okay, and finally, our seventh brutal hack. This one is all about maintaining that hard-won order once you've actually created it, the container limit rule.
Preventing the clutter creep back.
Exactly. The core principle here is really straightforward. You define a specific container for a specific category of items. So maybe it's one shoebox for old photos, or one specific drawer for all your linens, or maybe one particular cabinet for craft supplies.
Okay, clear boundaries.
Clear physical boundaries. You are then only allowed to keep what fits comfortably within that defined container. If new items come in, or if you somehow acquire more than the container can hold, something must go out. It creates this immediate, self-regulating limit.
I like that. It forces ongoing decisions.
It does. Margaret applied this brilliantly to her huge collection of books. She had hundreds, apparently, filling bookshelves to overflowing.
A common problem for book lovers.
Totally. For her new, much smaller home, she knew she just couldn't bring them all. So she designated one small bookshelf for her fiction books and another identical one for nonfiction. And she made the rule. Anything that didn't fit on those two shelves had to be donated.
That must have been tough.
She said it was tough, yeah. But by setting that clear physical boundary, the decisions actually became easier. She focused on choosing her absolute favorites, the ones she knew she'd genuinely reread or refer back to, and she gave away the rest. This rule gave her a tangible target, and it stopped that just-in-case accumulation before it could even start again in the new place.
And the benefit of this hack is really about long-term sustainability, isn't it?
Yeah.
It prevents that recluttering by setting immediate, clear limits. It constantly prompts you to make choices about what is truly essential and what genuinely brings value to your current life, rather than just allowing items to accumulate indefinitely. It's a much more proactive rather than reactive approach to managing clutter.
So, okay, we've talked about the emotional and physical weight of all these possessions, and we've explored 7 incredibly effective, brutal hacks to help clear them out. Now let's transition to part 3. Beyond decluttering, making room for a deserved life.
Yes.
Because this really isn't just about what you're getting rid of, is it? It's fundamentally about what you're making space for. For yourself, for your well-being, for your future.
This is truly where the profound transformation really begins, I think. Decluttering, when you view it through this lens, it stops feeling like an act of loss and becomes this powerful act of liberation.
Yeah, liberation. I like that.
It's about intentionally aligning your physical space, and by extension, your mental and emotional state, with your deepest aspirations for the future. It's about creating an environment that actively supports new experiences and allows you to live that deserved life, as the source material so eloquently puts it.
Exactly. And this connects directly to something called the next chapter test, which is kind of woven into some of these hacks. By deliberately clearing out both physical clutter and the mental clutter that goes with it, seniors are genuinely empowered to embrace new horizons. They can actually engage in activities that profoundly improve both brain health and body health, foster vital social connections, and rediscover a renewed, invigorating sense of purpose. Think of it as meticulously preparing your personal launch pad for your next great adventure, whatever that might be.
There are just so many enriching ways to embark on this new journey, often through pursuing new hobbies or interests. Our sources highlighted a really diverse array of options, each catering to different tastes, all meticulously designed to keep the mind sharp, the body engaged, and, the spirit vibrant.
Yeah, let's talk about some specifics. For mental stimulation, there are some wonderful, often very social options like playing board games. Think about classics like Mexican train dominoes or maybe more strategic games like Catan.
Fun.
Yeah. They're not just fun ways to pass the time, they actually provide fantastic cognitive workouts. They can improve memory, attention span, spatial reasoning.
Right. Use it or lose it for the brain.
Exactly. Plus, they offer invaluable social interaction, which we know is so crucial for overall well-being, or even something as seemingly simple but incredibly rewarding as putting together a jigsaw puzzle. That, too, actively boosts memory, attention, spatial reasoning, and it can be a wonderfully mindful, calming activity.
And it's not exclusively traditional games anymore, is it? The sources also mention modern alternatives like video games.
Right, things like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing.
Yeah, those can offer really engaging strategic thinking, and they provide this deep emotional satisfaction through their gentle, creative gameplay. Even active games, remember Wii Sports?
Oh yeah, bowling, tennis.
Yeah. Those can encourage physical motion and some light exercise right in your living room. These platforms can be excellent contemporary ways to stay mentally engaged and social connected, especially if maybe friends or grandkids play too.
Then there are the more traditional creative pursuits, like drawing, for instance. And it doesn't mean you have to be a classically trained artist, right?
Not at all.
It can just be sketches, doodles, adult coloring books.
Right.
Anything that simply brings you enjoyment and allows for some self-expression. Knitting is another fantastic option.
Very portable.
Very portable. You can do it while watching TV or chatting with friends. And hand-knitted items make truly thoughtful, perfect gifts, helping you stay connected to loved ones in a tangible way.
That's lovely.
And, of course, cooking. which for many people is incredibly creative. Whether you're diligently following a complex new recipe or just freely experimenting with flavors, there's immense satisfaction in creating something delicious to share, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And for those who possess maybe a keen interest in history and discovery, genealogy really stands out as a captivating hobby.
Oh yeah, tracing the family tree.
Exactly. It allows you to become a sort of detective of your own family history. You can meticulously explore online databases, look through dusty old photos, maybe find invaluable documents to piece together your ancestry.
Yeah.
This not only builds a deeper personal narrative, but it can also create a lasting legacy for future generations.
And for a wonderful combination of getting outside, maybe some light physical activity, and artistic expression, nature photography is an excellent choice.
hmm Just need a camera or even a phone.
Right. Grab your smartphone, head outdoors, and just start capturing the intricate beauty and subtle details of the world around you. It encourages exploration, observation, really seeing things differently.
And beyond these specific hobbies, there are broader, really enriching opportunities for lifelong learning and social connection. Think about local adult centers, community colleges, maybe university extension
Yeah,
programs,
lots of options.
and the vast array of web-based learning platforms, too. They offer a wealth of knowledge just waiting to be explored. The key, as one expert in our sources emphasizes, is maybe to set clear milestones or specific goals in your learning journey. That helps ensure you maintain that regular stimulation for the brain.
Right. Keeps you going.
Yeah. Without a defined objective, it's all too easy to kind of dabble for a few days and then just stop.
And the social aspect of all this, it just cannot possibly be overstated, can it? Actively engaging in classes or joining community groups, it directly and powerfully combats loneliness, which is a very significant concern for many older adults, as our sources point out.
It's huge.
Connecting with friends and family, whether it's in person or online, and truly connecting with your broader community through classes or volunteer work or maybe faith organizations, all of that is absolutely crucial for comprehensive well-being.
And this naturally leads us to a truly vital part of supporting this deserved life. Figuring out how to navigate the essential support systems and ensuring overall well-being in the golden years. For many, one of the most important aspects to understand, and often one of the most complex, is Medicare.
Oh boy, yeah. It can certainly feel like navigating a labyrinth, can't it? But the good news is that there are clear, accessible resources out there to help you make informed decisions. A key insight from the sources is to leverage official resources like Medicare.gov, Care-Compare.
Okay, Care Compare. Good to know.
Yeah. This website allows you to actively search for and compare different providers, like nursing homes. You can see how each nursing home is rated on a clear 1 to 5 star scale.
Ah, the star ratings.
Exactly. And those ratings are based on crucial factors like health inspections, staffing levels, and key quality measures. A 5-star rating means the quality is considered much above average, while 1 star indicates quality much below average. This helps you make more informed choices about care providers.
But when you are considering a nursing home, a critical insight is to go beyond just the star rating, right?
Huh?
And ask very specific, probing questions during your visit.
Like what?
Well, for example, what is the actual staff-to-resident ratio during different shifts, like
Yeah.
day shift versus overnight or on weekends? What's the average number of nurse aides per resident? What comprehensive rehabilitative services do they actually provide, like physical therapy or occupational therapy? What precisely happens in a medical emergency? What are their established protocols? And really importantly, how can you confidentially report any concerns you might have about the care or the facility itself?
Those are great questions. Also, an insightful approach involves asking about the nuances of daily life, things that directly impact comfort and dignity. Like, do they genuinely accommodate special dietary needs? How do the staff assist residents who might have difficulty eating on their own? Are you allowed to bring in outside foods? Are snacks readily available, maybe 24/7? Is there a microwave and a refrigerator maybe for personal use?
Right. Those seemingly small details can profoundly impact the quality of life and the sense of autonomy for residents, can't they?
Huge difference.
Now, in terms of the Medicare plans themselves, a vital insight is to really understand the core differences between your main options. There's Original Medicare, there's Medicare Advantage, which is also known as Part C, and then there's Medigap, which is Medicare Supplement Insurance.
Okay, break those down a bit.
Sure. Think of it this way. Original Medicare is kind of like the traditional government-run health insurance. It covers hospital stays, that's Part A, and doctor visits, Part B.
Got it.
With Original Medicare, you typically pay about 20% of the Medicare-approved amount after you meet your deductible. And you usually don't need a referral to see specialists. So you have pretty broad flexibility in choosing doctors and hospitals.
Okay. What about Medicare Advantage?
So Medicare Advantage plans, on the other hand, are offered by private insurance companies that are approved by Medicare. A key insight here is that they often bundle in extra benefits that original Medicare doesn't cover, like maybe vision, hearing, and dental care,
Ah, the extras.
the extras. However, they usually come with network restrictions, meaning you might need referrals to see specialists, or you'll likely pay more if you go see out-of-network providers. So it's often a trade-off.
Yeah.
You might get broader benefits, but potentially less flexibility in choosing your doctors.
Okay. And the third one, Medigap.
Right. Medigap. A crucial insight about Medigap policies, which are also sold by private insurance companies, is that they primarily help pay some of the remaining healthcare costs that original Medicare doesn't cover. Things like your copayments, co-insurance, and deductibles.
So it fills the gaps.
Exactly, hence the name. Some Medigap policies can even cover emergency medical care when you travel outside the U.S. However, it's really important to note that Medigap generally does not cover long-term care like in a nursing home or vision or dental services, hearing aids, eyeglasses, or private duty nursing. It's really about supplementing the gaps in original Medicare, not replacing it or adding those extra benefits like Advantage plans might.
Understanding the enrollment periods is also absolutely vital, right? To avoid potential penalties and make sure you have seamless coverage.
Oh, huge. Timing is critical.
A core insight here is to be aware of the initial enrollment period, which is that window when you first become eligible for Medicare, usually around your 65th birthday. Then there's the main open enrollment period, which runs every year from October 15th to December 7th. This is your prime time to join a plan, switch plans, or drop a plan, with the new coverage starting on January 1st.
Okay, fall is key.
Fall is key. And if you're already in a Medicare Advantage plan, there's also a specific Medicare Advantage open enrollment period that runs from January 1st to March 31st each year. That allows you to switch to a different Advantage plan or go back to original Medicare if you want. Missing these windows can lead to higher costs down the road or gaps in your coverage.
And it's also incredibly important to protect your Medicare number from fraud. This is a critical insight. Only share your Medicare number with people and organizations you absolutely trust, your doctors, your insurance companies, or their licensed agents, or maybe trusted community workers like your state health insurance assistance program, which is often called SEP.
Good tip.
Medicare itself, or your plan representative, will only call you in very limited specific situations, and they will never just call you out of the blue and ask for your Medicare number over the phone.
Right.
Be really vigilant about potential scams.
Okay. A further insight is knowing that Medicare covers a really wide range of essential services aimed at keeping you healthy and addressing health concerns when they pop up.
Like what kind of thing?
Well, this includes vital preventive screenings like colorectal cancer screenings, which are covered at specific intervals, helping you catch health issues early, often without any out-of-pocket costs. Routine EKG or ECG screenings are also covered during that one-time Welcome to Medicare visit if your doctor refers you for one. These preventative measures are really key to maintaining long-term health.
And emergency department services are covered too, right? For injuries or sudden illnesses. That provides critical support when you need it most. Telehealth services are also generally covered for certain conditions, offering convenient access to care right from your home.
Yeah, telehealth has become huge.
It has. However, a key insight to note here is that how Medicare covers telehealth is subject to change. Rules can evolve. So it's crucial to check the current rules with your provider to ensure continued access to virtual care, particularly regarding any location requirements that might change or come into effect. Always good to double check.
Also, transitional care management services might be covered if you're returning to your community after an inpatient hospital stay. This is a really significant insight for recovery.
How does that work?
It basically helps coordinate your care for the first 30 days after you get home from the hospital, ensuring a smoother transition and better continuity of care between the hospital and your regular doctors.
That sounds incredibly helpful.
It does, and for those dealing with dementia, Medicare covers a cognitive assessment to look for signs. And if needed, there can be a separate visit for a more thorough review and the creation of a comprehensive care plan. There's even a pilot program being tested called the Guiding and Improved Dementia Experience Model, or GUIDE, which may offer additional integrated support for people with dementia and their caregivers.
That's good to know. And beyond the specifics of Medicare, there are also crucial insights into accessing a broader network of home and community services, right?
Absolutely. The Elder Care Locator, which you can reach at 800-677-1116, is an invaluable national resource.
Okay, elder care locator.
Yeah. They can help you find local services for things like in-home help, maybe essential transportation, and provide vital information about how to pay for care. And for reliable meal delivery, Meals on Wheels America, their number is 888-998-6325, is a fantastic resource, ensuring nutritious meals get to those who need them. It's really about knowing these lifelines exist and how to tap into them when needed.
And it's also incredibly important that we acknowledge the unsung heroes in this entire ecosystem, the caregivers.
Oh, absolutely. Family caregivers.
Family caregivers make these vital, often completely unpaid economic contributions that were valued at an astonishing $600 billion back in 2021 alone.
600 billion. Wow.
Billion with a B. That's not just a statistic. It's a profound insight into the immense, often invisible labor that supports so many older adults right here in America.
Yeah.
They are truly the backbone of much of the elder care in our country, and recognizing their contribution is absolutely critical.
That is indeed a staggering figure. It really highlights their invaluable and often sacrificial role. And sadly, we also need to shed some light on some pressing senior health challenges that came up in the sources.
Yeah, there were some concerning trends.
There were. Our sources reveal a really concerning trend. Drug injury deaths among adults aged 65 and older significantly increased by 51% between the period 2017-2019 and the period 2020-2022.
Wow, a 51% increase.
Yeah, that's nearly 20,000 drug-related deaths in that latter period alone. It's a jump of over 7,500 deaths from the earlier period. It's a really sobering statistic that underscores a critical public health issue affecting our older population.
And on the mental health front, a vital insight is that the prevalence of depression significantly varies among older adults based on certain factors.
How so?
Well, it's reported to be 4.7 times higher for those who have cognitive difficulty compared to those without any disability. And it's 1.7 times higher among older women than older men. This critical insight really underscores the urgent need for more integrated care approaches that comprehensively address physical health, mental health, and substance use needs together, moving beyond a sort of siloed view of health.
We also face a projected shortage, according to the sources, of nearly 5,000 geriatric clinicians by the year 2030. That's a significant concern for the future of elder care in this country.
That is worrying.
It is. However, it's encouraging to see a positive trend mentioned. Graduate nursing programs are apparently stepping up and actively training more nurse practitioners specifically to help address this critical shortfall, hopefully ensuring that specialized geriatric care remains accessible to our aging population.
That's good news. And protecting older adults from harm is another absolutely critical area that requires constant vigilance. An important insight here is just being aware of the warning signs of elder abuse.
Right, which can take many forms.
Exactly. It can manifest in various forms. Maybe physical signs like unexplained bruises or broken bones, emotional indicators like unusual withdrawal or sudden unexplained depression, maybe abrupt and suspicious changes in financial situations pointing to financial abuse, and neglect, which might be indicated by things like bed sores, poor hygiene, or unusual unexplained weight loss.
And certain factors make older adults particularly vulnerable, don't they?
They do. A really chilling insight is that social isolation, which, by the way, decluttering and finding new hobbies, can potentially help combat combined with mental impairment, like dementia, significantly increases the risk of abuse. Studies tragically show that nearly half, almost 50% of those with dementia have experienced some form of abuse or neglect, which is an utterly disturbing statistic that just demands our attention and action.
That's heartbreaking. Finally, though, on a more positive and maybe empowering note, an encouraging insight from the sources is the significant improvement we're seeing in high-speed internet access for older adult households.
Getting more seniors online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely crucial in our increasingly digital world, isn't it? It directly connects them to vital social support networks, a huge wealth of online resources, and plays a really significant role in combating loneliness and fostering continued engagement with the world.
That's fantastic. This deep dive really shows us that clearing space, it isn't just a physical act, is it? It's a powerful act of liberation, as you said earlier, not loss. It's really about decluttering the soul to make abundant space for what truly matters, for the life you genuinely deserve to live.
Yeah. So let's revisit Margaret, our composite listener, just for a moment. Imagine her now, maybe a few months later, thriving in her wonderfully declared smaller, more manageable space.
Mm.
She's no longer feeling suffocated by possessions, but instead she feels lighter, more confident, and she's actually propelled into new possibilities she hadn't even considered before.
And that cleared space, it isn't empty void, is it? It's become a launching pad for newfound excitement and opportunities.
Right.
Perhaps Margaret is now teaching that nature photography class at the local community center, a new hobby she discovered, after shedding the physical and mental weight of all that stuff from her past.
Could be. Or maybe she's finally taking those trips she always dreamed of, unburdened by the worry of a house full of things she once thought she needed.
Hmm.
Or maybe she's simply enjoying the profound lightness of just living with less, feeling more confident, more connected to her community, and truly present in her everyday life.
Her remarkable transformation really powerfully underscores that the true value of decluttering lies not necessarily in what you discard, but in the immense freedom and the incredible opportunity it creates for a richer, more intentional life moving forward.
So we challenge you, listening right now directly. What small, maybe even brutal step, inspired by something you heard in today's deep dive, will you take today, maybe even just this afternoon, to start decluttering your space, or perhaps even just your mind?
And looking forward, what new possibility, what new hobby, or what deeper connection will you consciously make room for in your life, starting now?
Consider which insight from this deep dive really resonated most with you. Which hack felt like, oh, okay, I can maybe try that, and commit to applying just that one thing first. See how it feels. See if it helps you transform your own living situation and truly embrace your next chapter.